Okay, boys and girls, today we are on lesson 9.2 on page 513. We are looking to compare fractions with the same denominator. And real quick, you should be able to tell yourself what is the denominator in a fraction. The denominator in a fraction is the bottom number. Okay, so we're comparing fractions that have the same bottom number, the same denominator. Let's unlock the problem. It says that Jeremy and Christina are each making a quilt block. A quilt is like a big blanket. Okay. Both blocks are the same size, and both are made of 4 equal size squares. 2/4 of Jeremy's squares are green. 1/4 of Christina's squares are green. Whose quilt block has more green squares? So we're going to compare the fractions, and the first thing it says right here is to shade 2/4 of Jeremy's quilt block. And so we'll get Jeremy's quilt block. We'll shade 2/4 of it. Doesn't matter which two, just needs to be 2 of them. And I almost stayed in the lines. Next thing up, it says to shade 1/4 of Christina's. So come on over here, I'll change colors, maybe go to red and shade 1/4 of Christina's. There we go. And then after we've shaded them, we are going to compare the two fractions. And it says right here, the greater fraction will have the larger amount of the whole thing shaded. So if we look over here, Jeremy had 2 shaded, and Christina's only had 1 shaded, so Jeremy's is bigger. 2/4, he was 2/4. That means 2/4 is greater than 1/4. And so when we draw our symbol here, remember the larger part, the open mouth kind of thing, it points to the larger number. The little narrow part right there, it points to the smaller number. So however you need to remember it, maybe think of it as an alligator eating the bigger number or something like that. Whatever you need to do to remember it, please do that. You can just, it's that easy to compare 2/4 and 1/4. So blank quilt block has more green squares. That would be, what's his name? Jeremy. So we're going to say Jeremy's quilt block has more squares. Jeremy's. Jeremy''s to show possession. He owns the quilt. Right? Okay. Oh, I missed this part right here. It says to circle the two fractions that we need to compare. I did that. How are the two fractions alike? They both have the same denominator, same bottom number, right? That's how they're the same or similar. Okay, same denominator. Denominator. That's how they're alike. They have the same denominator. All right, let's look at the math idea right here real quick. It says you can compare two fractions when they refer to the same whole or to groups that are the same size. And again, Jeremy's and Christina's both did that. They were both had fourths, okay? They both had 4 blocks total, okay? All right, compare fractions of a group. Jen and Maggie each have 6 buttons. Shade 3 of Jen's buttons to show the number of buttons that are red, okay? Jen's buttons, shade 3 of them. It said 1, 2, 3 to show red. And then it said shade 5 of Maggie's buttons to show the number of hers that are red. So 5 of Maggie's, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 5 for Maggie. All right. Write a fraction. Okay, we're going to move right here. It says write a fraction to show the number of red buttons in each group, and then we'll compare the fractions. So Jen has 3 that are red out of a total of 6. so the fraction is 3/6. And Maggie has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are red out of 6. So her fraction is 5/6. Okay, and then compare the fractions. It says there are the same number of buttons in each group, so then we can count the number of red buttons to compare the fractions. If we look, it should be pretty obvious that Maggie has a bigger amount than Jen, right? So 3 is less than 5. Okay, look over here again. These 3 right here are less than the 5. 3 is less than 5, so 3/6 is less than 5/6. Blank has a greater fraction of red buttons. We look, it was Maggie had 5, so she had 5/6. She has a greater fraction of red buttons. So Maggie has a greater fraction. Maggie, M-A-G-G-I-E. Maggie has a greater fraction of red buttons. Okay, I'm going to go to the next page, and you can try to work through this on your own if you pause the video and then check your work as always. But we're going to use fraction strips and a number line now. And it says, in our story problem right up here, it says at the craft store, one piece of ribbon is 2/8 yard long. We do that here, 2/8 yard long. Another piece of ribbon is 7/8 of a yard long. If Sean wants to buy the longer piece of ribbon, which one should he buy? So on a number line, a fraction farther to the right is greater than the fraction to the left. Okay, just like we're used to using number lines that count 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Same thing will happen with fractions on a number line. It says on a number line, a fraction farther to the left is blank compared to a fraction to its right, it's less than. A fraction to the left is less than a number on the right. All right, we're going to compare two fractions now, 2/8 and 7/8. It says, shade the fraction strips to show the locations of 2/8 and 7/8. So 2/8, I'm going to do that one on the top. 2/8, 1, 2 of them, and 7/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7/8. Okay, I did that part. Go to the next set of directions. It says to draw and, sorry about that. It says to draw and label points on the number line to represent those two distances. So come back here, we have the number line right here, okay, and we need to draw our points. So 2/8, there's 0/8 right here, 1/8 is here, and then 2/8 is right here. So I'm going to draw my dot. I'm going to erase that little squiggly mark I made, and then I'm going to label that as 2/8. 7/8 ends right here. That's right here, and label that as 7/8. Okay, next we're going to compare the lengths. It says 2/8 is to the left of 7/8. It is closer to 0/8 or 0. 0/8 is 0. Okay. 7/8 is to the blank of 2/8. It is to the right of 2/8. It is closer to 8/8 or 1. 8 over 8 equals 1. Okay, so now we need to write our fractions in. We know we're looking at 8s. One of them is less than the other. 2/8 is less than 7/8. And 7/8 is greater than 2/8. So, which piece should Sean buy? Again, he was looking to buy the longer piece. And the longer piece then would be this guy right here, right? So that's the one that is 7/8 yard long. So that's using fraction strips. On the first example, sorry about that. On the first example, we used shading in, right, of the squares. This example, we used the number line or fraction with our fractions, and now we're going to use reasoning. Anna and Omar are decorating same size bookmarks. Anna covers 3/3 of her bookmark with glitter. Omar covers 1/3 of his bookmark with glitter. Whose bookmark is covered with more glitter? So we're going to compare 3/3 and 1/3. It says, when the denominators are the same, the whole is divided into the same size pieces. So in this case, each one is divided into 3 equal pieces. You can look at the denominator to compare. Denominator, D-E-N-O-M-I-N-A-T-O-R. You can look at the denominator to compare the number of pieces. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was saying something else. The denominator is going to tell us the total number in the whole, but we're going to look at the top number then to compare who did what. So the top number, you should know that is called the numerator. That's the number we're actually going to compare between Anna and whatever the other person's name is. We're going to look at the numerator, the top number for Anna and Omar. Okay. Both fractions involve third size pieces. Okay. Blank pieces are more than blank piece. So 3 pieces are more than 1 piece. 3 is greater than 1. I'm going to change color here. So 3/3 is greater than 1/3. Okay. Anna did 3/3, Omar did 1/3. So Anna's bookmark is covered with more glitter, and Anna spells her name A-N-A. And it's apostrophe S because it's her bookmark. Anna's bookmark is covered with more glitter. So we have a lot of different strategies. We have using reasoning, fraction strips, and then on the other example, we had drawing and shading in. Okay? Do your best, boys and girls. Do share and show. When you're done with that, bring it up, check it, and you can be able to move on to your assignment. Do your best. As always, this is Mr. P, and I am out.